Hey everyone, welcome to the 18th lecture of Ansible series, and in this lecture we will try to create or provision our AWS environment. So you can create the entire infrastructure of AWS using Ansible. Or it's not only AWS, you can do it within Azure, you can do it within Google Cloud, you can do it within your data center as well. Creating EC2 instances, S3 buckets, EBS volume, or the related resource. You can also create inventory report, inventory management using Ansible, like how many servers you are running within your entire infrastructure. And we have seen this. We are able to fetch the data out of our Ansible managed node. We are able to deploy packages. We are able to do multiple packages deployment as well onto our Ansible managed node. But in this lecture, we don't have any Ansible managed node. How we will be going to provision the infrastructure, we will going to look into that in the practical demo. Now, the only requirement what we need over here, Ansible controller engine. We don't need Ansible managed node because we are not trying to deploy any package. We are not trying to, let's say, update or fetch out some information from the managed node. We don't have anything apart from the controller machine. We have to deploy our EC2 instance. Now, in order to do the practical, there is a documentation from Ansible onto the Ansible section where we can use different modules of EC2 instances for Amazon Web Services. So let's look at that first, and after that, I will show you the practical demo. Stop the presentation. Here is the documentation for Ansible AWS EC2 module. Now, if you have to use amazon.aws.ec2 module, then either you can install the entire amazon.aws module with the help of Ansible Galaxy, and then you can use amazon.aws.ec2 module within your playbook. Okay, now here is the requirement. You need a Boto 3 Boto core. So you specifically don't need to install Boto core if you have a Boto 3. Python version greater than equal to 2.6 or 3.6. Okay, now here are like few parameters that we need to provision our EC2 instances, like whether you want to assign public IP. Obviously, in most of the production infrastructure, I prefer to keep all our servers into the private network and front-ended by load balancer. So it's always better to keep your security practices in picture, right? Then you can use AWS access keys, secret key as well. I prefer to do with the role instead of using or defining access key or secret key via CLI access. Again, you can do it. So create a credential file, then encrypt it via vault, and we have done the vault, Ansible vault, so that nobody else can look at that file, right? So make it more secure. Then we have AWS config, secret key. Then you can count the tag as well, debug, EBS optimize, whether you want to do that or not. Then EC2 URL, like a lot of different functionality, different parameters. So whatever parameters we require to run or initiate our EC2 instances, we have all those parameters over here. Okay, let's go to the example section. Here, like few example. If, as I said, if you have to use this module, you have to install the module using Galaxy command. Now here, as you can see, we need a key name. Obviously, to SSH into the system or to RDP into the system, you need a key, right? So you have to mention a key. Then what type of instance, you have to mention the AMI ID. Then wait is basically wait for my instance to provision, and once it is into the running state, the playbook will get exited from that particular state. Then which group, obviously basically the kind of tagging that you want to do, web server, it is a web server or it is a database server or something like that. How many numbers of servers that you want to provision, like 3, 4, or 1. Then which subnet that you want to do, assign public IP, yes or no, depend upon your choice. It's totally depend upon the infrastructure that you are having, right? Again, different set of example given over here. More parameters like monitoring is added over here. Then instance tag, you can do the instance tag as well, like database, Postgres. Then volumes, yes, volumes can be added over here as well. Again, when you create an AMI, the associated volumes also get created. But let's say if you want to add an additional volume, then yes, you can define the device name. This is where the device ID has to be, or the device name has to be defined. Again, go through this documentation based upon the requirement, play around with certain playbooks. Now in this lecture, I will show you how to create EC2 instances with two set of example. So let me go to my Atom. This is my provision.yml file. As you can see, I'm provisioning an EC2 instance. Now within the host section, as you remember, like in most of the cases, we use our web server because we know we have an Ansible managed node. In this case, we don't have any managed node. We are about to create an instance. So that's why you have to use localhost connection. Most of the cases we use SSH, or let's say WinRM for Windows. I haven't showed Windows, but in here, while creating the EC2 instance, you have to use local gathering fact. If you make it true or yes, then you will see like localhost in the gathering fact, because we don't have any machine created. Within the task section where we create basically the operations, we define the operations, what we have to do. So here I'm calling as EC2, that's a module, then defining all the parts that we need to create a server. Now here, like two things that you can do. If your Ansible controller engine is already having an access, the role access defined to create your EC2 instances, then yes, it will create. If let's say you don't want to play around with the role, right? You don't want to assign an IAM role, then use access key and secret key, okay, within this particular section. There are like again two ways to do access key and secret key. One, define access key secret key over here like this, access key secret key, and give the access key secret key. This is not a good practice to define a credential within the playbook. It's always better to create something like this, a credential file, give your access key secret key, and then call. The second way is configure AWS CLI within your Ansible controller engine, and there you can encrypt the credential file, what we create while giving the AWS configure command while doing the AWS CLI, encrypt that file with the vault. Okay, so those things can be done over here. Fine, let me save this. I'm into my controller engine. Now if I do, I'm using role. Basically I have a role which will not require AWS CLI, access key and security key to create my instances. Ansible playbook, and here let's call provision.yml. Enter. Ignore the warnings over here. These are all warnings related to my YAML file. Now as you can see, play provision my EC2 instance, task is EC2. If I go back to my management console over here, I will be seeing another one coming up over here. Let's wait for a couple of seconds and we'll be able to see an instance running in my dashboard. Refresh. Let's say state, then equals to pending. As you can see, this is now into the running state. This is the new instance that we have created, initializing. So that's one way of creating or provisioning your EC2 instance. Now, since I made public IP, yes, that's why I'm getting a public IP. Okay, with all the values listed over here, like the same subnet, Amazon Linux, that's the AMI that I have selected as Amazon Linux. And we should be able to see a key pair as well for doing SSH. Perfect. So that's one way of doing it. The second way I want to show you, because if you see this playbook, right? Now, these all are variables, right? Not this one, obviously, but all these are variables. Key name is a static one, or let's say if you have multiple key pair, then yes, you can consider this as a variable. Then we have an instance type, obviously depend upon the type of environment you are running. Then AMI is again a variable because it's CentOS. Then AMI is different. If it is Amazon Linux, AMI is different. If it is Debian family, AMI is different. Region, again, if you're playing with Virginia, if you're playing with Frankfurt, then you have to change it. Subnets are again variable part. Assign public IP, you can consider this as a variable as well. So we can define everything listed over here as a variable. Now I'm going back to the concept of role where we created the master.yaml file and main.yaml file into our entire task handler or the variable section. So let me go back to my terminal. Here, let's do ls first. We have something called roles. Let's go to the roles directory. And if I do tree is not there. Okay. Yum install tree. Let's install that. Okay, I have to do sudo. That's fine. I just want to show you the structure that I have created as part of the role, and you'll be able to relate this with the roles concept. Let's retrieve. As you can see, I have a master.yaml file which I'm calling as provision.yml. Then inside the role, we have something called web server, and this can be named as anything. Web server is the name of role that I am giving. Within web server directory, I am creating task and variable. There is no handler required over here because I'm not trying to restart any services or installing any services. Within task, we have main.yml. Within vars, we have main.yml. Again, these two names cannot be changed. These names cannot be changed. This can be changed. Okay. So let me show you the files that what I have created, right? So cat roles, not root, roles, then web server, task, main.yml. As you can see, I'm defining the task section over here, like create EC2 machine. Within EC2, key name is equals to my key name. Then I'm calling everything in terms of variable. Even I'm not defining the values within my task section. Only these two values are defined over here, which I'm not calling in the variable section. So let me go to my variable section, right? VARS. Here you can see my key, which I am calling over here, defined as Cloud4DevOps, then instance type, AMI image, region ID, subnet ID. So everything is kind of a parameterized structure over here that what we have tried to achieve. Like put all the variables into the variable file, then call that variable into the task section of YML file where we have to perform the operation, which is creating an EC2 instance. And we have a master.yml file, which is provision.yml file in this case, calling both the files based on the roles that what we have defined. Okay. Now if I try to do, come on, Ansible playbook, call the provision.yml file, enter. Let's see. Now it's trying to provision my EC2 instance. So what this will do, this will go to my task main.yml file, read all the values over here. From that value, it will see, hey, my key is defined into the variable file, variable main.yaml file, and all the parameters, all the variables are defined in that file. So let's take the value from there and then give the output to the master.yaml file, the YML file, and create an EC2 instance. So let me go back to my dashboard, refresh. The third, basically this is the pending state, which is the third machine getting provision over here, which means our logic is working fine. Actually, we have a 4 machine, not the third, the one which we created earlier, and we have a master. Perfect. And this is done. So this might have changed into the running state. So once this change into the running state from the pending, then the playbook will get exit from the running state. Now, why there is a wait condition? So if you see, this wait condition is put for that particular scenario. Wait till your instance converted into the running state. So that's how we create the EC2 instances within AWS world. Now, if you go through multiple exercises within this example, which I will be sharing in the description section, so try to play around with different example. We have a lot of examples over here. Okay, and place out a comment in comment section if you're facing an issue. I'll be there to help you. I'll see you in next lecture. Have a nice day. Bye bye.